This episode is sponsored by NerdKeys. Support our show using code GamingSanity for a 10% discount.
Hello everybody and welcome to the first Gaming Sanity show of the year. We are back, people, after what can only be described as an epic end of year game review show. I mean, what a fantastic episode that was. I'm your host, Mr. Black, alongside Agent Jesus, as always. And we've got some interesting things to talk about this week, haven't we, Matthew? I have been to an exclusive Sony event where I got to play The Order and Bloodborne. I've actually had some very extensive hands-on time with Bloodborne in the alpha. And we are going to discuss further things coming this year, some new games coming out, obviously like The Order, Bloodborne, Batman. And obviously we're going to discuss the plight of Sega. So, Matthew, how have you been since our last show? And would you just like to fill in our listeners of what you've been playing? Anything you've been up to?
Well, I've mainly been dossing about on Far Cry. Been having a great laugh with that. I've actually also gone through all of the Max Paynes, just for kicks. It's the wonders of the Christmas time and into the New Year's, where the sense of noir glory takes over. And you end up spending many hours sitting at the pause screen because you're mainly on the phone and you're just staring at the glory and you're spreading the message of how awesome these games are. In fact, I'm bollocking 17-year-olds in my workplace to play these games, mainly because they've missed out. That's pretty much that, apart from seeing Doctor Who Symphonic Orchestra in Perth not too long ago, which was quite brilliant. Peter Davison was there as the host, so that was a good fun night. Pretty much, other than that, it's mainly been sitting around at work. Quite unfortunate, really.
Well, we do have an exciting announcement for everybody as well. We are now www.gamingsanity.com. We have a website has gone live now, so you'll be able to see written news, previews, features, and reviews on there. And we are going to be branching out into doing video reviews and so forth on the channel. Obviously, they may not be as in-depth as the reviews that are written, so please check out the awesome new website that we have. It is fantastic, isn't it, Matthew? Let's be quite honest. It is quite simply the greatest website out there. People just don't know it yet, but it is. A
lot of blood and sweat's gone into it, and it's coming out absolutely fantastic.
It is. There's some impeccable journalism on there.
We've finally left WordPress. What glory!
Yep, we've moved on. We've spread our wings, and we are now out there. We are .com. We have just been recognised by Google recently, so we are ready. So come on down, people,
and
.co.uk
or just .com.
We are .com.
Just
because we're worldwide. We're worldwide, Matthew. We're not restricting ourselves.
Oh, really?
So what we will do, we will leave a link in the description below this video, so you can find us on our website. We'll also probably put up a link at the end of the show as well, just in the video, so you can be reminded to come along and check us out. Feel free to leave us any comments, any feedback you have. It's more than appreciated. So Matthew, I believe you would like to. Well, I think you want to ask me about my experiences at this Sony event, don't you?
Well, yes, actually. Mainly because I am actually excited for Order 1886, despite not having a PS4 yet. Hopefully, in the next coming months, depending on what happens, I will actually have a console. It's not just the Xbox One.
Well, I mean, I think I should just preface this with I've been looking forward to The Order, but I've also been slightly sceptical. Because obviously we've heard some reports of clunky controls. The game sort of frame rate being all over the place, and it feeling sort of a bit like driving through toffee at certain points to control. So I will just preface this with saying I went into this fairly sceptical actually, and I was very intrigued to see how this game played. We also got to play Bloodborne as well, I've also, as a lot of people on this channel will know, I've had some extensive time with Bloodborne over the alpha, over a number of weekends. We still actually have some footage talking about the different classes and abilities that will be going up on the channel at some point in the next couple of weeks. And I will also be doing an extensive preview on the website talking about the different mechanics and how each individual class that I've played so far is slightly different. So Matthew, fire away. Ask me what you want.
Well, one of the main things I've been thinking about is Order 1886 has very much a feeling that it's got the old Resistance Fall of Man spot in the way Sony was, where you have your big main titles and you have that one that's very much in between. From you playing Order 1886, how do you feel? Does it fit into that right mould there? Is it still very much questionable for you?
To be honest, I think this is going to be one of the franchises they go forward with. To be honest,
so you'd say it would become more of a leading franchise.
I think so, yeah, because they've got a lot riding on this. There's a lot of money. I mean, I will tell you this right now. In terms of visuals, that game is the best looking game I've seen. Full stop on anything. Okay, and as you know, I have an extensively powerful computer, which is capable of running 4K games and so forth. You know. In terms of visual fidelity, the game is unmatched. I think, really, from what I've seen. The animation on the faces is unbelievable. The motion capture is fantastic. I mean, it's just simple things like his hair blowing in the wind. It looks real, you know. The interaction between the characters as well in the cutscenes is excellent. The transition as well from cutscene to game, I know a lot has been sort of written about this and said, oh yeah, it's seamless. I actually sort of fell for the old trap of didn't realise I was supposed to start playing when I was. You know, even these highly trained eyes were very surprised when I actually realised that the game had started, because there was no indication. Basically, the conversation between Galahad and one of the female members of his party stopped. And the camera was literally just where the conversation stopped in the cutscene, and that was it. And I wasn't sure whether I had to start moving around or whatever.
So it was a bit of a Max Payne 3 effect.
Yeah, the anime. Well, it's if you think Max Payne 3 is good, you're going to be in for something else. The physics on the clothes, how everything moved, the actual motion capture as well done on the characters. I was talking to the Sony guy there. And he was telling me that it's actually been theatrically performed by, proper theatrical actors. It's not just they've got a few guys in to do the motion cap, right? This is actually, been acted, if you will. So on a visual level, just initially, it was quite staggering. The animation's extremely smooth. The frame rate is 30 frames a second, and I didn't have any problems with that. Exceptionally silky smooth. The only slight problem I had at first was I had to change the controls to inverted, which freaked out the rest of the people there, but, I'm thinking in true 3D space and they're not. And getting into cover, it was pressing the circle button. I think, hopefully, you will be able to change the controls. I would have much preferred to have it as the X button on the PS4 pad. Yeah. But, obviously, I can get used to it. And then obviously once you realise that you're actually playing the game and you start moving around, it was quite spectacular. The backgrounds were amazing. Curtains were blowing in the wind, pans were moving around. There was a real sense of the age and time as well. The sort of Victorian era going on there, and it had a real sort of strong sense of place as well. Did the game? It certainly impressed me. On an aesthetic visual level, definitely, and obviously the frame rate was rock solid at the time. So I was very surprised. I mean, obviously I would have liked to have played a build, sort of 6 months ago or whatever, but unfortunately I didn't get that chance. Just to see, how much the game has progressed. But from what I've seen so far, in terms of the visual aspect, it's excellent.
Ah, yeah. Also, another one.
Just to answer your question as well, I will say this. Yeah. You can see the money on the screen, if you know what I mean. If that makes sense. You can see where the money's gone.
Ah. Now, I was actually going to question: do you have access to audio through the monitors provided?
Yep.
How well's the sound design put into it? Is like, I mean, some games you tend to come out with a much more artificial feeling. Although the graphic fidelity is extremely high, sometimes the audio kind of messes it up with it. Any hints on the actual soundtrack in it?
Yeah. The voice acting was very good. It was very good. I was kind of expecting sort of a faux English weird accent going on that was, a bit sort of weird. No, it's the acting was rock solid. The soundtrack was good. It was bombastic, but it also had the string parts going on. Very much set the mood. I mean, I would love to see some of the music actually when you're down in the streets in the Victorian times, because I got to play part of the airship level, and so we were up in there fighting in some enclosed spaces and stuff, and then some big sort of open areas as well. But the soundtrack was excellent. The suppressed sniper rifle sounded really good. The weapons had a good feeling to them, because I know there's been some sort of conversation about the fact that the weapons didn't really feel like they had an impact. The sniper rifle certainly had an impact, and it was a suppressed sniper rifle as well, so you got that nice satisfying little, when you were shooting them in the head.
Did it transfer to the DualShocks smoothly as well? Or?
Yeah. The machine pistol was good as well. It was a nice little raking up the body to headshots. The shotgun has got to be the standout. The shotgun was amazing, because what happens is, enemies drop weapons. You'll have a certain amount of you'll have certain weapons that you begin the level with, and obviously then enemies drop weapons, and you can pick them up like a revolver or a shotgun. And even in like an Enfield rifle, or a Garand, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so I decided to get the shotgun going. Sacked off the sniper rifle pretty quickly after dispatching various long-range enemies, and got the old shotgun out. And it's very satisfying. That shotgun has some serious power and some serious sound effects as well. The actual animations as well, when you're blowing them away with the shotgun, was excellent. I blew some guy's head off. That was awesome. It's very satisfying. Because there's a lot of shooting games, there's a certain line, there's an intangible line where a weapon feels good to use, isn't there? I think Doom got the shotgun right. Gears of War got the shotgun right, but other
Halo
games
got theirs in fair ways.
Yeah, I mean, Halo shotgun's all right, but I don't think it's quite as good as something like Doom or Gears of War. You know what I mean? There's that intangible element that comes with designing the feeling of weapons, and I think a lot of that goes with the audio as well. Of how satisfying it is, and obviously the impact. So they've clearly worked a lot on that. It was very good, very satisfying. I mean, obviously I'll be able to give you a rundown of the level a bit later of what actually happened.
Excellent. With the main plot of it, is it very much a Van Helsing kind of feel to it?
To be honest, I don't fully know what's going on yet with the plot.
Yeah.
We didn't get any massive context. We were just sort of thrown into the level. There was a cutscene at the beginning, and it was like, we've got to go take these guys out, and that was it really. I got to speak to the Sony guy, and he was saying, "Well, I can't really tell you." I mean, we know what we know. We know that the Order have been around for hundreds of years. They're fighting this Lycan threat, and also they're fighting this resistance that's going on, which I think is quite an interesting sort of turn on its head, because generally you play as the resistance, don't you? But actually we're fighting the resistance. But we'll see how that transpires. I think maybe we may end up on the side of the resistance by the end. I don't know. I mean, I didn't get any inkling to that from the game I played, but I'm just having a. That's just me sort of speculating.
The often trope is the full sympathetic for the resistance. And,
I mean, hopefully that doesn't happen.
Well,
because obviously there's a lot riding on the story of the Order, so
yes.
Hopefully it doesn't degenerate into that.
Yeah, pretty much. Hopefully it doesn't dissolve down into we are the real monsters out of this.
Yeah.
That is such a common thing now, and it really does just get to me. It's like, okay, we all understand we're doing horrible things.
Yeah.
But we were here first, so it's very much like the end of Metro. 2033.
Yeah.
At the end of it, you nuke them, and then you feel very, very
Stop
bad and
ruining it for
guilty.
everybody. Spoilers.
Metro so far gone. So,
Yes.
but yeah. Now Bloodborne. I really haven't actually got
No,
around.
we haven't
I've
talked
seen
about the control. No, I need to tell you about the controls. That's what I need to tell you about. This is my big question going in, right?
Yeah.
I've heard so much about these controls and how bad they were and whatever. I have to say they were razor tight, responsive, great. You know, no problems with the controls. Excellent. Now we actually played part of the level where you're in a big foyer shooting people. There's a lot of insurgents coming in. You have to take them out with the sniper rifle. I threw a smoke grenade down. If you press the top left one button as well, you go into black water mode. Takes a swig of his black water that he has around his neck, and it slows down time. And you can like chain people together, you know, like chain kill them. It's like almost an event. You can just quickly bang, 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 and shoot people. Almost like Red Dead. Very similar to Red Dead.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah. And then we moved on further into the level, and there's some surprises actually, some slightly open spaces and things like that, which I was very surprised about. And apparently the game gets. I was talking to the Sony guy, and he was saying that the game opens up a lot more. There's actually, it's not just this like corridor, you know, a very claustrophobic game that we've seen so far. He said there's far more to it, and he said there's certain levels where you're actually like out in the city, going on the rooftops and stuff, and coming down in through the streets and things like that. He said, you know, we've only seen the tip of the iceberg. Now, I watched the actual. There was some more footage of it shown at the Taipei game show last weekend, sort of 7 days ago now. About what was it, 30th or 31st of January, and yeah, it's the 31st of January at the Taipei game show. And they actually showed some of the open areas that he was talking about, and it does look very impressive. But I have to say now, after playing and getting hands on with the game. We had a lot of time to play it for about 15 minutes, numerous times. It was very impressive, and I have to say I'm very optimistic now about the Order. I mean, the thing is, we can talk about, you know, oh yes, it's just a third-person shooter, or it's just a cover-based shooter, but what do you expect? You know, it's not gonna, you know. The thing with third-person shooters and cover-based shooters, a lot of it relies on the story as well as the combat mechanics themselves. And I think, and the thing is with the Order as well that I've said, everything is there. You can see where the money's gone. The world building is unbelievable. You know, the visuals are second to none. Yeah, exceptionally good-looking game.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of the Gears of War series try to keep strong at. Although,
well, this is one thing I would say to anybody listening to this, right? If you cast your mind back to 2006. Especially after E3, when Gears of War was shown in like a bit of a trailer, and you know some people got to play it, and they're saying, oh, you know, it's good graphics, but you know it's a bit linear or whatever. And then it turned out to be the game it is. All right. I think the same is going to be this. I mean, it's quite interesting actually. We were having a conversation, the Sony rep and I, about you know, how we thought the game was going to go. And I said to him, I think this will sell better than you think, because he was estimating that it was going to be a slow burner, and certain people would pre-order it, and then word would get out, and people would start buying it. But if you actually look at the recent numbers released by Amazon, the Order's the 6th highest pre-ordered game.
Yeah,
it's Sony's most pre-ordered first-party exclusive. So clearly, people are looking forward to it. And obviously, it's a good time to release it as well in February, and there's not a great deal coming out.
Yeah,
so
it's very much. What's usually used to be the quiet period.
Absolutely.
It's really taken up to a future spot.
Yeah,
so and it makes great sense.
Interestingly, on that list, is Halo 5 Guardians is the only other exclusive above it at number 5, and then the rest of the games are all third-party games like Batman Arkham Knight's number 1. I think Dying Light's number 2, and there's Witcher 3 at 3. I can't remember what's at number 4. Something at number 4. So it's quite interesting to see that, you know, these first-party exclusives, there's a lot of people waiting for them. But I have to say, after getting hands-on with it and actually playing the game, it's allayed my fears. And the thing is, as well, I think it's only going to be about, what, sort of 10, 12 hours long, if that. So it's going to be, it's going to be a nice sort of reasonable length game, good story, get in there, shoot some people, and enjoy it. So... Because I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were like, "Oh, you know, these these first-person shooters, they should be 15, 20 hours long, and I'm like, well, no, they shouldn't, because you get bored. There's not enough to do in a shooting game to last that long.
I mean, it was very much. I would use Last of Us as an example. Although, you kind of wouldn't say it was an exact third-person shooter, because just the amount that's in there, that's really not meant to be too much on shooting kind of things, a lot more stealth on that. But still, with Last of Us, it's a brilliant game. It's a fantastic game. And the story works so well with it, but you felt so much filler in there to try and expand the story or try and keep the plot line going. There is so many scenes in that game that really shouldn't have been in there. They had
we had this conversation, didn't we? If you go back and watch one of our first couple of videos when we talk about the actual titles, violence in games and so forth. Yeah, I definitely felt that as well. I mean, it took me 15 hours to finish. I think that game could have been done in 12, easy.
Yeah, I mean, 10 to 12 hours is a really good time anyway. And I mean, especially ones that are going for a more cinematic experience. It turns out to really, if you want to watch all 3 Hobbit movies in a row, or it's just like all those trilogies. It's like you've got a very long version of a movie, an interactive movie these days, and the only benefit is that you can pause the game, go have a pee, and come back, and you haven't missed anything. There is just
absolutely
you've got to fill that space out, and I fairly understand that quite well. And even the games are about 5 hours long these days, you still appreciate them for what they are.
As long as they're not stupidly priced.
Yeah, it's very much. It's like you'd probably want to pay $50 for it if the actual content wasn't there so much, but it was more of the story and the experience. So that's the way I end up seeing it on there. Yeah,
Bloodborne.
Bloodborne it is.
Yes.
Well, it's one of your most. You've got a secret love for it. Well, not so secret. It's out there.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you about Bloodborne. I'll tell you about Bloodborne. Bloodborne feels very much like the Demon Souls, which came out on the PS3 back in 2009, in the sense that Dark Souls felt a bit slower and a bit more measured, whereas Demon Souls has a faster rate of combat. It seemed faster. The game seemed at a higher pace. Now, Miyazaki's taking this to the next level. He's removed shields and stuff from the game now, so you can't block or anything. You've got to attack, and obviously it's got this new mechanic. When you get hit, if you counteract the enemy straight away, you get some of your life bar refilled by attacking. Now, in terms of visuals, I mean, the game is unbelievably looking. It's got this full gothic Victorian art style. With soaring steeples and soaring architecture going up. It does feel like, a really warped version of Victorian London crossed with some sort of cathedral convention. It's very interesting. It's got very similar mechanics to the Souls series. It's got the level of graphical detail and animation on the game as his cloak flutters around. When you attack enemies, you'll get blood all over you as well. That stays there and shines and reflects things in the background. These little subtle details that you don't really notice at first that start to weigh in. The moon reflecting off the cobblestones with the slight dashings of water on there. I mean, it is pretty spectacular looking, and it's this really sort of twisted version of a Dickensian nightmare. It's excellent, and these guys look like sort of witch hunters. I don't know what the full plot is yet, because I've been trying to avoid what the actual plot is. But these guys sort of remind me of like Hopkins Witchfinder General, how you'd imagine like a sort of a fantasy version of that. Now, there's 4 classes I've played with so far. There's the traditional guy that you see in all the pictures with his shotgun and his sort of meat cleaver blade. There's a dude with a massive hammer. There's a guy with a massive axe, and then there's the sort of rapier fast guy who's got like these 2 daggers that he can join together to make like a big long pole arm with blades at the end, right? And personally, my favourite is the actual really fast guy, because obviously this game is based on moving around, dodging attacks, I mean, you can do like these sort of slight death finishes, like there's these big sort of lumbering ogre type things, and you can do this death move that you just rip the stomach open, but you've got to have your timing down to an absolute T to be able to do that. Now, the world of Yharnam just looks amazing. There's ambushes going around the corners. It seems like a fetid, destroyed place. Really does have a really good sense of atmosphere. I mean, I'm hoping that they bring out the design works and some sort of art book for this, because it is pretty spectacular. The enemy designs are excellent. Like, for instance, you've got these oversized crows that are too big to fly now, so they're just sort of lumbering around, flapping around on the floor, you know, with these really creepy eyes, and they sort of swarm you. And that's one thing that's slightly different to the Souls games as well. You fight a lot of swarms of enemies at times.
So it's like Croydon.
Yeah. You've got to be very, very, very fast on your feet. I mean, as usual, the story, you can sort of learn some of it from what's going on, from reading items and things. It's got that usual ambiguous Souls series storytelling. But also, the new feature that I like is that it's got procedurally generated dungeons called Chalice dungeons.
Ah, yeah.
Now, one of the complaints back in, Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and Dark Souls 2 was, especially when you were co-oping with your friends, all the areas were pretty much, they never changed. It was always the same. It just got more difficult. Whereas in the procedurally generated dungeons, they're going to be actually different layouts, different enemies, different things in there.
Yeah.
But one of the cool features what they've done, which is what you can do in the Binding of Isaac and other games, is you can actually save a particular dungeon state, right, as it is, and you can run it with your friends and share it with your friends.
Ah,
apparently, there's this new mechanic where you can whisper to your friends and send them little dungeons that they can only come into with and stuff like that. So they're really starting to move this asymmetrical multiplayer on. Yeah. They're really starting to take it. What makes the Soul series good and move along with it. And I have to say, aesthetically, the game is unbelievable. The sound is great. It's, these creepy noises as you're walking down the streets. Not too much music while you're playing, just sort of the weird, sort of fetid skitterings of various undead and plagued animals and things. Fantastic, great physics, especially when you're destroying the scenery and things like that. There's a real sort of weight to the character as well. It doesn't feel too floaty, when you're actually using your character. Now the other characters as well, like the guy with the big hammer and the guy with the big axe. They piece together the weapon when you're going to use it and stuff. It's amazing. It's amazing to see. But there's what I love about the game is there is an actual total difference between all the characters of how they handle, based on the big weapon and the blunderbuss they're using, or the slightly smaller shotgun or whatever. And it does feel really well balanced. Now, personally for me, obviously, I didn't like the two lumbering guys. I'm sure there's going to be people out there who really get down with those. And also, as well, it incorporates the multiplayer aspects, the asymmetrical multiplayer aspects of the old games, where you can leave messages for each other via these little grave tombstones that pop up with these weird demon hands and skulls coming up. And obviously you've got your bells that you can use to summon people into your games and things. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But just on an aesthetic level, the game is just unbelievably good. I mean, obviously, it's nowhere near as good graphics as something like The Order, but I'll tell you this: it's very impressive. It's not quite as impressive as The Order, but I mean, I think probably on an art design level, it's infinitely superior. But mechanically, the game is so responsive. The controls are bang on already, and it's not even out yet. There's still another couple of months, well, about a month and a half now to go before it comes out. So I'm very, very optimistic. Well, very pleased that Bloodborne's coming out. And it's strange going in as a person who's played all the Souls games to not have a shield. It's a bit strange at first, and it's a bit jarring, and it forces you to think on your feet, literally, literally pun intended or not, to actually be more evasive and move around and think about your encounters that you're doing, and not just sort of rushing in like a lunatic. So I'm very impressed, and I mean I'm looking forward to seeing some of the other items in the game. Like there's these stink things you can throw that pull different people off, and you can set people on fire, certain are weak to fire and things like that. So yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, excellent.
Highly recommend it.
I was just going to say
still brutally difficult as well. Still ridiculously hard.
I was just going to wonder the fact that they it's brilliant. They love keeping it brutal. Are they actually still using the environments against you?
Yeah. There's
thing?
guys
Yeah,
that pop. Yeah. There's guys
Yeah.
that pop out of little crevices at the side of the street and things.
That is the thing I love about the series. Is just it's all about in what way can we fuck players over? It really is.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
Let's just sit in a room. It's just like we've got to find an item that's just going to completely mess with you. Obvious
Absolutely.
one becomes the chests. When you look back at the old chests, who knows? That one could eat you. We never know.
Well, that's it's one of the games. It asks no quarter and it doesn't give one. So
yeah. And like looking at all these new characters and that, they're very much a tougher kind of thing. But at the same time, with these games, you will always still feel extremely vulnerable. Do you get that feel? Like,
yeah.
Feel very much that you're still
very
vulnerable.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. Especially with no shield. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you do certainly feel the shoulder, well, the hand of death on your shoulder at all times. Yeah, definitely.
That's
and as I've said, it's more packs of enemies that you fight as well. So it's a lot more challenging. I mean, you can cut through them a lot quicker than you probably could. Yeah, than you could probably could on Dark Souls, but you've still got the token, energy bar to do your moves and everything.
Yeah,
you've just got to be very smart with what you're doing. So yes, I'm very, very, very impressed with Bloodborne. I mean, Bloodborne, I've had extensive time with it, and it's only improved on the build that I've played. So it's looking good, mate. It's looking very good.
What I've seen in the past, and from what I've heard from you as well, it's just looking at an absolute stellar game. Now, was it you had a chat? Well, mainly chat. Was it Todd Griffith? With the
Ross Griffith.
Ross Griffith. Yeah.
Yeah, the Sony dude. Yeah.
How did that mainly go? Like, you just had your general chat.
We were just sort of exchanging notes and stuff. We actually had a reasonable conversation about the order. He was expecting it to sort of be a slow burner where people sort of tell each other how good it is, and then it goes off. Having said that, I pointed him to the Amazon stats, which disagree with that. Shall we say? But he was a great guy. I have to say, big shout out to Ross Griffith. He was a top bloke. Answered all questions. I mean, he was loving it just as much as everybody else. I mean, that was the thing. He was not one of these, because I've met numerous reps in my time, having worked for Blizzard and various other companies, where they're just obnoxious and they don't really know the stuff. Ross Griffith is a gamer, right? He's in it to be involved in the games industry, and he loves going out and he's for the players, as he told us on numerous occasions. He's all joking aside, he's a very nice guy. He's absolutely passionate about gaming. He's been there since the beginning, of the PlayStation brand and beyond, and he's a very, very nice guy. And big shout out to Ross Griffith.
Sorry, I got
Excellent
your name
work.
wrong.
No, he did. No, he was knowledgeable about his product as well. He was free to answer questions. He was excited. He was loving it. So yeah, he was a nice guy, and very, very different to the usual sort of company rep you get in the games industry. Actually knew his stuff and knew what he was talking about.
That's
good.
Very good to hear. 'Cause, looking back at your article on it, it was very much the usual slogans being pulled in of "we want, we want, we want."
Well, yeah, he had to get. He had to get his stuff in, and that's just how it is.
It's good that there's someone that actually walked out.
I mean, you will hear a different side to him when I actually upload the interview video.
Oh,
it's slightly different. Yeah. Well, there's some other words that he's told me and stuff where I think you'll see it brings more of his personality out than the usual thing. I mean, obviously, when we're writing a news story, you've got to get the certain things you need for what the story is. We were talking about the event and what Sony wanted from the event, not what Ross Griffith wanted from the event. So he had to tell us, his line, which was fine.
It's just the general spiels that come in, and I do find it funny when it comes to Sony, and it's just the magic of freeze. very much is we want, and
I mean, to be honest,
Yeah.
he gave us some decent quotes. To be honest, really.
oh yeah,
I mean, they weren't too reppy. You know, he sort of told us it was for the players, and we want to astound and we want to
Yeah.
astonish, which they do, and I think they will do with these games as well. Because I had an interesting conversation because we were talking about, you know, how the PlayStation 4 sold 18.5 million units in a year. You know, it's I think it's just behind the Wii in terms of fastest selling console of all time, right? And they haven't really had any decent first party exclusives yet. You know, this is when it starts. You know, February, March. This is when they're going to get
Yeah.
two big name games out there. You see. Last year, I mean, what did they have? Drive Club, and The Last of Us, which was a HD remake. So,
yeah.
you know, this is where it all starts for them now, and obviously they'll be culminating the year probably with Uncharted 4 and whatever else we don't know about yet.
Then there was Rambo.
Yep. so it's you know, it's looking good for them, and if they can shift that many units without really having any sort of Sony reason to buy the machine, then I think once they do start getting some reasons for people to buy the machine. In terms of specific games, like, you know, your Gran Turismo's and your Uncharted, I think they're going to.
because
I think they're going to start flying off the shelves even more. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point. I mean, mainly over in the US, where the Xboxes were flying out because of their cost.
Yeah.
During like the Black Friday sales and that,
Yep.
and although it didn't really stunt Sony in a way, kind of thing, at the same time, it is quite. It does affect Sony.
Well, if you looked at the
very
numbers,
much
it was
it's
quite
more-
interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was only there's like a disparity of like 200,000 units between each company at the time. So, you know, Microsoft are not making really any inroads there. I mean, you're talking about a lead at the moment of, you know, and we're not talking about shipped PS4s here. We're talking about sold, like as of the end of the year last year, of 18.5 million. You know, Microsoft confessed they'd sold 10 million, so there's still a, like,
Still a good gap.
massive disparity in the
Yeah.
numbers. You see, I find it very interesting. I find it very interesting that this machine is selling so well, even though there's nothing of any note particularly exclusively out for it. So it's unprecedented in some respects. Because, like, for instance, like when you get a Nintendo console, it'll come out. You'll have your Mario, you'll have your Mario Kart, you'll have Zeldas, you'll have these other games. You know, Microsoft, they got the Master Chief Collection out, or admittedly in an absolutely debauched state, and it's completely wrecked even now.
Yeah.
But they got one of the big guns out there. You know, Sony haven't had a big gun yet. You know, it hasn't happened. And Drive Club was an absolute shambles until basically January when it was finally fixed. So.
Oh, we patched in dynamic weather though.
It's very impressive, actually. I'll be uploading some footage of that at some point.
My problem is, why was it a patch? That's something that should have been.
Because they were too
in the
busy
game.
sorting out the absolutely destroyed netcode and whatever else was going on to
I
screw
know,
the game
but
up.
this last year.
Can you imagine the forums if they'd have said, right, we're not fixing the netcode, we're putting in the weather for you.
But the weather should have been in there from the
Well,
get-go, though. From release.
I will say this: when you actually see it going, it's I can see why they probably took the time to do it. 'Cause it's quite impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive, actually.
There's just.
And you know I don't like
way
driving
too much
games.
patching. No, it's yeah, I'm more of a driving guy out here, so
What's your speciality?
it's not really. Speciality's Grand Theft Auto.
Well, absolutely.
Rockstar
So-
Games.
What we will be doing on this channel, we will be having another show probably in a week or so, where we will have the order. It will be played, it will be finished, and we will have some exclusive footage. But I think now we should bring it to a close for our fans
Did you want
and
to
just
talk about
remind
Sega?
them. No, we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about
And just
that.
remind them that the Gaming Sanity website has gone live. You can check us out at www.gamingsanity.com. So come on over and give us a visit. So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.